James Franklin just continues to build this staff and make it one of the best in the country. The Penn State defensive coordinator job has become one of the best assistant coaching jobs in all of the country. It has become a premier spot, something that is sought after, something that is wanted. Penn State doesn't have to settle anymore, and Penn State is being very competitive. They wanted Andy Kotelnicki as the top choice for the next offensive coordinator, and they went and got him. They were able to pull him away from Kansas to make sure that he wasn't interested enough in Oklahoma, who also wanted to make him their next offensive coordinator, and Penn State was able to land him. So my point is, you might be critical of the way that James Franklin, okay, maybe he doesn't call a timeout the right way or anything like that, right? You might have some questions about his in-game coaching. But James Franklin is really good at evaluating coaches and retaining them as well. Penn State has become an attractive spot for assistant coaches to continue to build their careers because the amount of assistants, I know it hasn't worked out with the likes of John Donovan or a Taylor Stubblefield, for example, or recently a Mike Yursich, but Brent Pry became a head coach. Joe Moorhead became a head coach. Charles Huff became a head coach. Ricky Ronnie, Manny Diaz recently, right? All of those guys able to move and land into a bigger and better spot from the assistant coaching jobs at Penn State. And James Franklin, right? So he struck out with Mike Yursich, but he hit a home run with Joe Moorhead. He did. Ricky Ronnie was good in his own right, short stint as the offensive coordinator. Brent Pry, he was there for a while, but you saw how good those defenses were under Pry. And then Diaz to be able to say that, hey, just because you got fired doesn't mean you can't do this job. Came in 2 seasons and had Penn State playing at a college football playoff level on defense. This is something that has been pointed out to me. You notice how no one ever complains about working for James Franklin or has a bad thing to say about James Franklin? All these assistant coaches, whether it worked out at Penn State or not, people seem to at least be neutral on their opinions of James Franklin. The vibe is that people love to work for James Franklin, and it shows. So James Franklin is great at evaluating talent, not only from a player standpoint, but from a coaching standpoint as well. Guys that are on the field, guys that are on the sideline. So say what you want to what you want to say about clock management. Fine, I get that, but Franklin knows how to build a team, knows how to build a program. In this case, found the best possible coordinator candidates in this cycle, the ones that were available to them. Penn State went out and got both of them, right? Penn State did not flinch at the pressure, especially when the stakes are higher than ever. 12-team college football playoff, the expanded Big Ten conference, and Penn State doubles down, and it feels like the staff is better than ever, better than before. James is also good at doing something else, and that's convincing coaches to stay. Because, look, I got to sit back. One of my biggest concerns, and I'm glad I was wrong, and I hope I'm still wrong because the offseason's not over. But J1 Sider, like I said earlier, the everydayers will remember this. He's maxed out his opportunities at Penn State with everything that he can do, aside from play calling, right? Being promoted as the full offensive coordinator and being the play caller, not a co-offensive coordinator, not the run game coordinator, running backs coach, associate assistant head coach, whatever titles, right? J1 Sider, I think, deserves to be a play caller at some level, not Division II, not Division III. I'm talking Group 5, maybe even a smaller Power 5 football conference, with the way that he's able to recruit, with being the co-offensive coordinator for quite some time now. J1 Sider, the fact that he's still in Happy Valley when he's a Florida guy through and through is very telling about the loyalty and respect that has been built between Franklin and Sider. And I'm impressed. I am. The fact that he's been able to convince a guy like J1 Sider to stay in Happy Valley for as long as this time, especially probably Sider definitely interviewed for the head coach for the offensive coordinator spot. He had to have, but Penn State still goes out and gets Andy Kotelnicki. And Sider in the latest interview doubles down and says, why would I want to make a lateral move when Penn State is the spot? That's pretty telling, isn't it? Because in my mind, there's no reason that Sider couldn't be a play caller, an offensive coordinator play caller at another institution. at something as big as Penn State or even better, like like Georgia or something like that, Texas, Alabama? No. But could he go to a group 5 and be a co-offensive and be a full-time offensive coordinator and a play caller? Absolutely. I would even argue a power 4 that is slightly smaller than Penn State, right? But in this case, he's staying in Happy Valley. How about Anthony Poindexter? And the jury's not out because he, again, was passed up for the defensive coordinator spot. And we know for a fact that he did interview for that defensive coordinator spot. Poindexter passed up his alma mater, UVA, Virginia, College Football Hall of Fame playing career there to stay at Penn State as the co-defensive coordinator, probably with the idea in mind that eventually he'd be promoted to the DC spot. Was in the thick of it for the head coaching job just 2 years ago and decided to come back to Penn State. Okay. Those are those position coaches. How about the strength and conditioning coach? There were rumors swirling around that Chuck Losey was going to leave to go to his alma mater at Vanderbilt and decides to stay in Happy Valley. 1, 2, 3. James Franklin able to retain all of them for the most part, right? We're still waiting on Poindexter in this case, but it it'll be interesting because I do think Penn State had a contingency plan here. You don't know that Tom Allen's going to get fired by Indiana. You don't know about the stuff that's going on at Texas A&M when you're planning all these things, right? Elijah Robinson or D'Anton Lynn, would he consider coming back to Penn State? And the timing of it. Timing is everything. Manny Diaz accepts that Duke head football coach job when Lynn and Robinson are in the process of interviewing for their respective positions now at USC and Syracuse. Maybe things are different. Maybe Robinson is the defensive coordinator. Tom Allen, still head coach in Indiana. Maybe they give him another chance and don't hire Kurt Signetti. Who knows what's different here? But I really do think Penn State and James Franklin had a contingency plan to make Anthony Poindexter the next defensive coordinator, albeit he wasn't the first choice, but that's why you call it contingency, right? Because I genuinely believe this was the backup plan if all of this didn't fall into place, right? Timing is everything. Poindexter as the defensive coordinator, and then Ola Adams. Remember, Ola Adams was an analyst on the staff. He accepted the defensive backs coach job at Indiana with Coach Signetti. So you promote him from analyst to safeties. And like I said, remember timing? Ola Adams was hired immediately by Indiana very early in the cycle, just accepted that spot with the Hoosiers. How ironic, right? You take Tom Allen as the defensive coordinator, Ola Adams goes back, and this is my hypothetical blueprint here. But I really do think that this was an idea. You have to have option A, and if A doesn't work, you go to B. Then you go to C, you go to D, E, F, G, right down the alphabet. You have to be able to do that in college football because your first plan isn't going to work out. Your second plan definitely isn't. Your third, fourth, fifth plan, probably not either. That's why you got to be prepared to have a sixth, a seventh, and eighth. Unlimited options. And I think this was one of them. But now it's a matter of being able to convince Coach Poindexter once again to stay in Happy Valley.